we go into pure consciousness and come into the body and let the body naturally unwind its energies. Sundays, 9 a.m. Pacific. And then we have a little chat on Zoom after and answer questions there, or we just share. This last time was beautiful. We had just people teaching each other. And so this is a little more like I envision this as being a little more of like waking up from the mind, coming into oneness. Any trouble in your life that I can help with. I'm really good at taking the core belief that that's at the root of your struggle and finding it and turning it upside down and waking up from it. But the Sunday meditations are about healing through the body. So I envision this as more of the sort of wake up session, the weekly wake up session, like waking up from your mind into reality. And the Sunday morning healing as a kind of the healing through the body. Mental health, coming from mental health, is a misnomer. It's just not the right phrase. Mind, it doesn't heal. The mind wakes up. We wake up from the mind. It's the body that heals. Those beliefs, the insanity that we're born into is stored in the body. And so the body heals and the mind wakes up. And so this will be more of the wake up session. And then we'll have the Sunday healing. Is kind of my idea. Hi, Drew. Why did I quit it? Practicing successfully for decades. Why did you quit it? Yeah, the field is really limited. Therapy is processing what happens to you through the mind, which is what most therapy is. And there's different versions of that, right? There's analytic therapy where you're looking back into the past. There's cognitive behavioral where you're trying to change your thoughts. Systems thinking where you look at patterns in family, and even community psychology where you look at, the communal belief systems and things like that. But there's not much looking at the root issues of things. The story in psychology is that the problem is located in the individual, or in the family, and that it's a mental thing. So you can just change your thoughts and change your life, or you can learn some communication skills and some relationship skills or emotional intelligence skills and change things. But what I found is it's a lot of just re-scrambling and retelling of old stories. And it took finding inquiry, which started with Byron Katie's work. She has these 4 questions and what she calls a turnaround, where you take the most stressful thoughts you have and ask, is it true? Could I absolutely know it's true? Just yes or no? I believe it, and who would I be without it? And I just sort of used my versions of that to come away from the mind and away from the stories of family, and away from the beliefs of inadequacy or unworthiness, or being unlovable, or that life is hard, or that we are, all the stories we have about ourselves, about others, about the world. Instead of processing those, you have to wake up from them. So all of therapy is built on processing and emotional processing. And they don't really include the body, which is where the healing goes down, and they don't really know who we are. So there's this idea of a separate self who's ill, who has a diagnosis or a disease. And then if you process it enough, if you express the emotion enough, that will fade away. But meanwhile, they're still in the context of an insane society. Um, and they've identified as the self with all the problems. So inquiry takes you over to pure consciousness, pure awareness, and you look at your thoughts instead. And you can wake up from them. You can also take your seat as pure awareness, pure consciousness, pure witness. And that's who you really are. And that is much bigger than your story, than a separate self, than your family, than your culture, than anything. It's immortal awareness. And you can also feel that. You can feel that through the body. You can feel the expansiveness of who you really are. And the feeling of that is one of the big cures for whatever is ailing you, whatever your thoughts are. Um, so yeah, I just the field itself, the mental health field is so limited. It discludes who we really are as pure consciousness, as oneness, and it discludes the body. And then there's just a lot of processing and staying around and around in stories instead of coming out of them. Um, Not to mention, yeah, I think of the whole thing as kind of a colonialist project, um, that's meant to, to say that anything outside of the normal curve of human behavior, which is identified as like how much you fit into an enslavement culture, um, a colonialist nightmare. If you fit in there, you're healthy, and if you're outside of that, you're not. I think it's basically upside down. So so there were a lot of reasons I left it, and I found just a lot more truth outside of the field. Truth in energy healing initially, in a lot of spiritual and non-dual truths and awakening processes. Um, and the other thing, a major, I wrote a whole article about this, by the way, on my Substack called "What We're Looking For," and it goes through all the different fields, including the medical field and the spiritual field and the non-dual field and the self-improvement fields, wellness, and how they're limited in what they have to offer. And the therapy is really limited in that it's about healing from a disorder. But nobody in therapy, I swear, some of the least happy people I know, meaning they don't know anything about fulfillment because the body is really discluded, and the body is where you're going to find what this particular being wants. So, does she want kombucha or does she want water or does she want coffee or a beer? And any of them aren't good or bad, they just are true or not. And you have to come to the body to find out what's true. So, the fact that I couldn't find anything about fulfillment, it totally took the body out. Um, and therapists believe that there's a separate self in here operating things. Those are my reasons. Hope that answered your question. I'm very happy to be out of that field with great respect for so many people who um, have enormous hearts and are earnest, beautiful people in the field. But I think most of them would agree, the ones who are still in contact with me anyway, um, that it's just really, really limited. So yeah. Hi, Kim. Hi, Guy. I'm going to go back and see if I can read the next questions. Are you familiar with body talk? I am. I had a friend who did it years ago. I used to go to the energy psychology conference for like 12 years every year, and they always had a body talk person there. Not always, but I started to see them come, and I never caught one of the things. But I'm a familiar. Like I got my certificate in EFT, emotional freedom technique, and a thing called ask and receive, and I use my own hands to um, heal myself and think of the healing I help with as energy healing, because it really, emotion just means energy in motion. It's emotional healing, energy healing, body healing. It's all the same. And body talk seemed good with that. The only thing like about body talk and like um, EMDR and some of these other things, this neuro linguistic programming, is too brain based. The brain needs healing too because it's part of the body, but the whole body is a brain. And so we have, and a lot of our stuff is stored in the main chakras and meridian lines and in the tissues. So anything that's too brain based, and if I remember correctly, I think body talk was a little bit about you, just the brain a little bit. I don't remember totally, but uh, I'm really interested in the whole body. It's like, here's your belief system, you know, um, life is hard. Um, I'm a failure, right? Uh, I'm a failure, and all the versions of I'm a failure, the thoughts about I'm a failure is stored in your throat, in your hips, in your knees, and in your brain. It just depends. It's different for everybody. It's how that um, code got stored in the body as it was integrated over the course of your unique life. Um, So anyway, so I sort of morphed from EFT and these other kind of protocols. The energy psychology conference would have like, I don't know, 20 different protocols, but they all were kind of the same. And there's this woman named Beverly Rubik who studied energy healing for 35 years and hooked everybody up to, skin sensors and EEGs and all these things. And she found what the physicists found, which is matter follows energy, which follows awareness. So really, the modality for healing is awareness. If you put awareness on something, the energy starts to move, and then the physicality starts to move. So I have people having this all the time where it's like, oh, they found something in their belly, and it's like not good enough is stored in their belly or their solar plexus. And when they go in there to start to heal that and just release it, just by virtue of bringing awareness in there, and it starts to open up, they might feel nauseous and feel like they're going to throw up, and or have a burp, or start digesting better. So the material, the form follows the energy, which follows the awareness. So I just moved over the years to just making it really, really simple, to just awareness in the body. It's really, really simple. We don't need a lot of other things. So that's why you can heal yourself. I mean, I'm huge respect again for all the protocols, and people have found amazing things and whatever works for you. But I myself do it in this really simple way. Hopefully that answered your question. Okay, Randolph, I'm wondering how deeply your interest in Middle Earth goes. Um, a fun thing, or are there metaphorical, metaphysical connections you make with some Tolkien stories like you made with the Christian faith, Father, Son, Holy Ghost? Um, so fun. I so my interest, how do I want to say? I'm going to kind of blend your question. Where the metaphors and analogies come from, um, like, how do I want to say? They just come out. I was raised Catholic for the first, I don't know, from when I was like 5 to 12 maybe. Went to like Catholic school on Mondays and things. I went to public school, but CCD, whatever that was called. So I have a little bit of a Christian background, but then we stopped going, and I've always been interested in religion, spirituality, what's true. I've been interested in what's true, and I've been looking for it everywhere. So, but I've always been a little like I was the kid at 6 years old in my CCD class. I remember the Father Howard, fucking son of a bitch, touring us around the church, and he like lied about the fact that we all cried at our baptism. And I raised my hand and I was like, I did not cry at my baptism. There's photos. No, I didn't. Um, and he lied to my face, and I was like, it was like the first time I was like, "Oh, this guy, this guy sucks. I don't believe him. Like, he lies." And I was sort of that. I was always looking for. I didn't want to know about Jesus. I wanted to know what Jesus knew. And in a way, it's the same with literature, with my interest in Middle Earth, as you say. Um, What so I use these phrases, and I'll talk about this another time. There'll be more to come on this. But um my father introduced me to the Lord of the Rings, and I think I read The Hobbit when I was like 10 or 11. Loved it. Um and so inside of me are these templates um of Christianity, of Middle Earth. And one day, after I had been doing lots and lots and lots of meditation, many years ago, it was like 2015 or 2016, I walked into this integrative center that I worked at with like 20 other practitioners. So there were chiropractors and apothecary hosts and acupuncturists and functional medicine docs. And I just knew that I was a hobbit, and that my friend Kristen was an elf, and my friend Sarah was a gnome, and that there were fairies and humans and dwarves, and basically 6 different avatars. And I just knew it. It was just a truth in the world. And that truth, I think, Tolkien picked up on. So I think Tolkien was channeling some truth. Um, his Middle Earth characters don't map exactly onto the ones that I've found. there's some overlap, but there's fairies and gnomes in mine, and there aren't in Tolkien's world. Um, so it's not that I'm necessarily interested in Middle Earth. I think both Tolkien and I and you and we all are interested in truth, and that truth shows itself through us as different channels. And like Venn diagrams, we overlap. So I overlap with Christianity, in that Jesus seemed to know a lot of truth. And what he says, I'm like, oh, that sounds true. Um, and that's about as interested as I am, is like, if it doesn't sound true to me, like Father Howard didn't, then I move on. So when those words came to me, it was, I feel like I saw some of what Tolkien saw and continue to see it. And then there's been this refinement of who these avatars are, who these, what I'm calling, I've renamed them because I kind of want to let go of all the ways that I used to talk about them. And I think this is a better name anyway, which is elemental species. So each of these six species are sort of like your astrological signs, but they're more the earth elements. And they each have two elements. So hobbits are water and earth, and fairies are fire and air, and things like that. Again, I wanna like probably present this in a much more cohesive way. I'm not sure how I'm going to do that yet. Maybe it's a podcast. Maybe it's a live stream, or a recording every week or something like that. We'll see. Um, but if hopefully that answers your question. I'm not very studious, and I can't read at all anymore. I can't seem to read, but it doesn't mean that truth doesn't come through me, and that I don't find that there's a lot of overlap with the great myths, um, and symbology, and then that includes spiritual and religious myths as well. So I hope that's the spirit of your question, Randolph. Is it Father, Son? Oh, let's see, Father, Son, Holy Ghost. That I would say, so the way I would see that is almost like what we were just talking about with awareness, energy, and matter, right? So um, it's the sun is the material form, Holy Ghost is the energy, and then awareness, pure awareness, is the Father, is pure oneness. There's the three aspects of being. Some spiritual traditions call it the causal is oneness, the subtle is the energy body or the Holy Ghost, and the gross is the physical form. So I think there's, I'm not again, I'm really a scholar, but I have a little bit of information in a lot of different. I'm a very Jill of all trades kind of gal. So that same three is in a lot of different traditions. Tissues have issues. Yes, that's it. Exactly. Little crystalline structures in there. So yeah, fascia release is so good. And then just literally feeling into your body, any awareness that you put in your tissues, in your bones, in your stomach, in your chakras, in your heart, wherever you feel tension, wherever you feel pain, the field of medicine and therapy is like, get the heck out of there. In healing, you go in there. And lately I've been very like, listen, your pain and your knottedness is like a burning building. Go in. Don't hesitate. I have a blog called The Strangest Pleasure. I think it's on my website. It's not on my Substack yet. All my old writings on my website, but it's the pleasure of meeting your pain. And in it, I talk about how pain has such a bad reputation that nobody wants that guy at the party. It's really, everybody's like, get rid of pain. And it's like, really? Are we sure? Because I've never felt better than when I finally meet the very thing I've been running from. Um, and really, the closer you get to something, pain is we had this um, on the Sunday meditation in our Zoom chat. Um, this woman realized as she was meeting her pain, like, oh my God, it's not even pain. It's like, I can't even call it that, because the closer you get, the story of whatever that is disappears. And it's really just energy. It's really just energy. It's all just energy. And energy, the closer you get to energy, is just space. So, and you can all try that right now. If you have a little bit of pain somewhere, instead of having any story about it, what if you just went right into it? Like, I have like a little bit of pain in my throat, right? And even literally just in those few seconds, It already started to alleviate when I went in there. So, you know, the the body, we basically abandon the body. Our parents and our whole society abandons us. It abandons our actual physical being for a story of how we're supposed to be. And basically we're set up to be, cogs in a machine, and we're enslaved. And so what our needs, like in school, we have to raise our hand to go to the bathroom. We're taught so carefully to override our own bodies. So the journey back into the body and to reclaim every part of it is the healing. And then the body will never sabotage itself. It literally can't do it. We were also talking on Sunday about babies and how if a baby is fed something it doesn't want to eat, she'll just spit it out, right? He'll just spit it out. And when we get older, it's like, well, I made that for you and it was made with love and you should eat it and it's healthy for you and you should have more salads anyway. Except your body's like, I don't fucking want a salad. I want a slice of pizza and a beer. And that's just what's true in that moment if you actually check your body. Um, so yeah, the thing that keeps us out is just the habit of having neglected ourselves and disembodied ourselves just to survive in this world. And then we have all this pain and tension that we're also avoiding. But both our fulfillment and our healing comes from coming into the body. And it is so much better than you think. it's where it's where all your fulfillment comes from, and where all your healing is going to go down. And the mind is scaffold on top of that pain. So by the time you actually meet the pain in your throat that you've been avoiding, your mind can't tell you its scary story anymore. I have people all the time tell me, like, they've woken up from their thoughts many times, like, oh, I know it's not true, but it still feels true. And that's because they haven't healed it through the body yet. And if you haven't healed it through the body yet, then it does come back through the mind. It's like, well, this might be true. You know, you might really, you might really be a problem. You're probably a real problem. So we have to heal through the body to then feel the relaxed state of reality, the peaceful truth, and the natural balancing that happens in our bodies and in our lives. Um, when we're here, when we're landed in the moment and not in our story of it. Great answer. Okay, good. Hi, Dr. Oka. In the context of the mind waking up to pure consciousness awareness, what roles do divine reason and divine wisdom, logos and Sophia, play in your considered opinion? Great. Um, let me just contemplate this. What roles do divine reason? Yeah. Let me share my experience. I'm a It's funny. It takes me to the six species again a little bit, because as a hobbit, I'm a very visceral being. Like, I need to be able to touch it, um, and so that's why I never read scripture. Um, I would I would like hear one phrase from, like, when Jesus said, "I am the light, you are the light." It's like, oh, that feels true to me. That sounds right. And then it's the direct experience of that. So that I would call that wisdom. I would call that knowing, Sophia, knowledge, the gnosis, right? The Gnostics, where, in every religious, I mean, you guys probably know this, but in every religious tradition, there's a mystic wing. And in all of those mystic wings, whether it's the Sufis or the Gnostics or um, the Zen Buddhists, they discovered oneness, right? And it's a real visceral thing. It's a knowing. And so for me, I speak from that wisdom. And when I'm speaking, I'm in it. It's like, here's the visceral reality, and it's available to you too. It's right here. I can do you a little exercise if you want, um, to feel the oneness that's here. And when and so in the same way that, like, um I don't know, it'd just be like being able to pick up a script and read it because you're in it, right? It's just I'm reading off the wall. I'm reading off of my own direct experience. Or it's like I'm tasting food and I'm describing it as I'm tasting it. Um, Now, some of my gnome and elf friends are a little more like they it's not always the case, but they have an air element, which is the mind, and like a little more reason. So like a really well described written written experience that makes sense, that has reason in it. So if this then that, if this then that, and it's like, oh, they catch it through their mind first, and then the body registers it later, whereas I'm much more like body first. It's almost like I have to feel it. um it's like, and it's like I don't like too many words. I like one phrase, and then I go taste it myself, kind of thing. So does that answer your question? I hope. But I think there's so many ways in to reality. Um, and as somebody who talks for a living and talks with all kinds of people who access who need, not need, but whose doorway into reality is different, right? Like that's really fun for me. It's fun to talk to, like I have a client who's an engineer and he and I sometimes sometimes we a little like this, but mostly it's awesome, because he helps me think really reasonably, right? And so I'll sometimes like say something, he'll be like, wait a minute, go through, and then I have to go through, it's like one, two, three, four, five, right? If this, then that. Did you said this, but that actually isn't true. If that's not true, is this true? No. Okay. And we kind of go through it like that. So I can think like an engineer for a little bit, but it's not my first language, let's say that. How would I know if I'm really awake, aware, or not? Is it possible to know if you are awake? Um, okay, I love this question. Here's my here's my mm, I'm I'm going to skip the self that wants to know if they're awake. Which I understand. They can't know if they're awake because they don't awaken. Awakeness awakens to itself, or awareness awakens to itself. And since that's the case, everybody here is already awake. So let's just do this together. Okay. So what's looking at me right now? Fred Davis calls it awake awareness. I love that phrase. It's awakeness. Behind your name, behind your thoughts, that which is receiving the sounds, that which sees my face, that which sees your own thoughts, that which feels your body. That is not a consciousness that comes out of a brain. That we've never found it is. It makes no sense. It is pure consciousness that registers everything. And it is always awake. So when you're sleeping, you're not dead. There is awakeness. And then the body is like close to death, right? But that awakeness might be registering a dream. It's a different dream. Some people have said that this life is just the dream you dream the most. So you're dreaming this being the most. But inside of a dream state, you might be dreaming something else. That awakeness is still there. So now put all of your awareness onto that awakeness. Be only that for a minute. Don't identify with anything else. Not your name, not anything else, not your history, nothing. Just be the awakeness. That's always awake. It's always there. It's always watching. It's always registering everything. It's that which registers everything. And it's the same awakeness here as it is over there. Same consciousness, one consciousness. This is one body. Here's this finger, this finger, this finger, this finger. That's you. That's me. That's Yoshi. That's Randolph. Same body. Same blood pumping through it. And then we look at each other and we go, how do I know if I'm awake? You seem to be awake. How am I? Do I know? And I go, well, look, Look at what joins them all. Look at what's behind it. So now that awakeness, so let's just keep hanging out here. And this pure awareness, this pure awakeness, feel it. It has a feeling to it. It's also endless. See if you can find a boundary to that awakeness. Pure awakeness, pure witnessing. You can feel it's in the body, right? You can feel the palm of your hand, you can feel your heart. You can also feel through your skin. You can be aware of the sensation in the back of you. You could be aware of the tree a mile behind you. We are an enormous energy body, and that energy body is wired up with everything else. And inside that energy body is the same consciousness pumping it. And so awakening, there's just this process of awakening. Awakening is just this opening process. The body's opening, opening, opening. We're sensing ourselves as the awakeness that pumps through everything. And as those channels open, interesting things happen, like downloads of 6 species on the planet Earth. I don't know where that came from. That's not my thought. That comes from the mind, the neural network that is our neural network. And then we have a body that is our body that the birds share and the trees share and the computer shares. And so we're all awake. We just haven't noticed. We just are really interested in the dream, the story of ourselves, the story of separation, the story of competition, the story of I'm a real problem. But what sees that story remains awake. And what sees that story, you know, doesn't believe it. It's like, oh, poor honey, poor baby who believes this story. Poor baby that believes this story. This is the baby, this is the one that has believed these stories that got programmed, right? Our bodies are really, really similar to computers. So we got programs in them, very intentionally put in their programs. But we can wake up from that program. It's the same consciousness. Cool. Hope that answers it. So everybody's awake. You're already awake. I'm not special. You're not special. Don't you dare believe it. Don't believe it. Don't believe any spiritual teacher who says that they're special. We're all awake. And it's very, very simple. Man-made rules have failed because they are against natural law. Precisely. Precisely. Exactly. Exactly. It's like, oh my God, what kind of backwards craziness? It's literally, I was just writing like a new video and I'm like, everything, single thing is backward and upside down. How did we get everything backward and upside down? It's a real, like, were we just exploring what that was? We could really just go, let's just take this and turn it that way, this and turn it that way, and we'd be so much better off. But to go back to like, so here's this awakeness, and now we're embodied. The body will choose natural law. We have it's so crazy how we have overridden the body. The healing world makes me want to die. I just want to walk off a cliff because there's so many stories about what to eat and how to work out and whatever it is. And I'm like, and I'm going to talk about this as much as I possibly can. My healing, right? My is these weird movements that come out of my body that are just natural. It's the natural law finally allowing itself to be. So I bring awareness into my body on a daily basis. My day is just like, I don't know. I don't know. I was telling everybody on Sunday, like, I have an idea, just because, the programming's still there of like what the day was going to be. I'm going to do this, this, and this, and this. It's never goes according to plan. Never, never. Life, natural law has a much different plan. And a lot of my days are like, I go outside, I go on a long walk, and I'm doing weird dances and stretches and squats and strengthening exercises and twists and turns and flopping around. And it's just, I'm finally letting my body do all the things she wasn't able to do. Just follow natural law. What do you, here's this awareness, here's this body. She would like to shake and shake and shake and twist and twist and twist. And I'm like, okay, all right, we're doing that again today. Yes. And then the bliss that comes from that, the release, the peace in finally being able to live from natural law. And that's why I can so confidently say, now doing like sitting with people for 30 years almost, it's like we're all built that way. The body knows. And then the bodies know. Like the bodies will literally card sort themselves so naturally into communities, into the habitat they want to live in, into relationships they want to be in. We just have to come back to natural law, which is back to the body and letting awareness, not this programmed mind that needs healing through the body, come into the body and let life lead, right? And life has already done its thing. It's already the case that I want a pizza instead of the salad. I just it's the question is whether I'm going to go with the programming and bypass it and then feel sick because I ate a salad and I didn't want it, or whether I will abide by natural law. And the good news about not abiding by natural law, which is what our whole world is that it doesn't fucking work. Everything crashes and burns because it's like swimming upstream for an eternity and you're going to get tired and the stream is eventually going to take you. So yeah, it's all natural. God's law, natural law, reality, same. And then it's just available right now. Come into pure awake awareness, which you already are. You already are that. Come into this body, listen and feel what's true, and double down on that. Stay there. What's true? Eat the pizza. Do the weird thing. You'll feel better. Your answer resonates. Yes, sounds true to me. Is the verbal expression of the light bulb that goes off when something broadcasts the brilliance of truth. Yay! Good. Yeah, and I was like, truth recognizes truth, right? Same truth. It's all the same. And we're just like mirroring it back to each other. It's not my truth or your truth. It's just truth. Let's develop chronic presence instead of chronic brain. I love it. Chronic presence. I love that. What a beautiful phrase. And it should be chronic. It should be perpetual, perpetual presence. I'm insisting on presence. Exactly. And presence is a beautiful word. I love that word. Sometimes I call it like all in, like be all in down to your fingertips, be fully here, fully present. Don't leave anything behind. Don't hide out even a little bit. You know? That's why I was saying, I think it was to David about TMI. I'm like, "Is there too much information? Because if I'm all in." I mean, the good news about being all in is that you also will feel your boundary, and you'll feel if it's too much information. Um, and then you'll be able to express that boundary, but that's chronic presence. I love it. And with chronic presence, I mean, I used to work in integrative health, so a lot of my clients who came to me years ago, had chronic pain issues, Lyme disease and fibromyalgia and a lot of chronic pain, and, um, anyone who's still with me, not a lick, not a lick, because they're embodied now. They're inhabiting their home, and if you don't inhabit a house, right, the corners get dusty and, things get weird. So, love it, chronic presence. I was raised Catholic as well. I've come back to Christianity after discovering the mystics. They talk a lot about Jesus from a mystical perspective, and I've been finding it very useful for mental health. Great. The truth and the light within us all will resonate when we hear it. But once the veil of illusion has been lifted, how do we deal? Okay, great. Um, yes, the truth and light will resonate when we hear it. Exactly. How do we deal? I get this a lot. How do I deal? So it's sort of an extension of what I've been saying. The good news is with chronic presence, right? If you are here as pure awake awareness, just right now, you don't have to deal. There's no dealing. Dealing is actually an idea. It's an idea of a future and a past, of like someone I have to deal with, something I have to deal with. I don't deal with anything. So maybe you can give me an example of something you're concerned about dealing with. But let's give an example of like I have a family member I don't speak with, right? And if they called me and wanted something from me, The story might be, I need to deal with this, but I don't have a story about it. So, and I really don't anymore. I mean, I really don't have stories that I believe anymore. So then all I'm left with is just what's true. So I see the family member's name on my phone, and what's true is I don't want to talk to them. I mean, I'm open to maybe I do, but today I don't. And so there's nothing to say and there's nothing to deal with. What's true is it's a no, and my phone goes down. Same with the insane news cycle. What is there? What's true? What do I want to know about? What do I actually, am I actually interested in this? Is this actually news I can use? Is this actually something my being wants to know? Or is this part of a scary story that I think I have to deal with? So, if we truly are chronically present and like a critical mass of us are, we're just going to build new things. That's what I see. I just see building completely new free systems, and there's no dealing with the old ways and the old empire. There's a lot in the spiritual community. There's a lot of talk of like 5D and 3D consciousness, and I don't always use those terms. I like to speak in really practical terms, but there's something about it that there's sort of potentially a split in the world. And 5D and 3D is maybe, it's an okay way to talk about it, but what I've noticed is that the 4D, the fourth dimension, is the dimension of time, which is really the dimension of the mind. And freedom, so the jump to 5D, is to come out of the fourth dimension, actually. It's to not be in time and to be chronically present. Chronic presence um, is just magical. It's like it's endless possibility. And these beings they're so full of potential. Like we could build, like I have a friend who she trains dogs, and we were talking about training men in the new earth. And we were both like, for men who are really open and who are like willing to wake up, let's say, we could train them in an afternoon. Which is to say, just help them find their right seat assignment, help them come into their bodies and find what's true. So um so all the stories of like we have so much to do or we have to deal with or whatever, in a way it's the limiting stories of the fourth dimension of our mind. um and I'm not trying to be hopeful. I don't believe in hope is trash. And um I'm not being fantastical. I'm just saying, like, I've had enough on the ground experience when I can get somebody to wake up from a particular thought of like whatever they think they have to deal with or who they think they are. I watch their life change like that. Like in an afternoon, they may be out of a marriage. um, and they're not dealing with somebody. Now, of course, that's rare that there's usually a process. But I'm not big on dealing. I'm big on coming out of that fourth dimension, coming into the world of open possibility that you live in. Reality is open possibility, and this being and the being in front of you may have really different plans than the thing you think you have to deal with, that you've been conditioned to have to deal with. And so I want to bring everybody over to the fifth dimension where it's magic and magical, instantaneous, cool, funky, weird things happen. And I can vouch for them. So hopefully that answered it. So cool. I didn't realize Susie had. I know. Live feature. So great. Interesting answer in terms of one's elemental avatar. Yeah. They're really cool to talk about. It's just a whole thing. Man plans, God laughs. Yes. You know that I learned that is the most told joke in the world. That every culture has some version of, you want to make God laugh, tell her your plans, or man plans, God laughs. I just find that, I mean, it's just perfect, right? It tells us everything. Presence, being all in, is a beautiful concept. Yes. Wondering which of the six avatars, Hobbit, Fairy, Gnome, etc., plays in air and water. Pretty sure that's where I play most of the time. Um, Yes. I mean, we all have all the elements. It's just sort of the more prominent, sort of like again, like astrological chart. We're all of the signs, but it's where are they housed, kind of thing, and are they more prominent? I believe you're a fairy, Randolph, and you're fire and air, but you might have a lot of water, like in your astrological chart. Um, Air and water is who is air and water? Air and water is elves. So they're mental and then emotional. Um, and then air and earth are gnomes, fire and earth are dwarves, and water and fire are humans. So, yeah. And then inside of those, so you may be an air fairy. So I'm a water hobbit who's a little faster moving and can kind of hang more with the water and air creatures than earth hobbits. Um, and earth hobbits are a little slower, a little more steady. They lot very very physical. Um, and then so each one has that. So you could be an air fairy. So meaning you're really mental. Fire fairies. My mother, who passed, was a fire fairy, and there wasn't anybody she didn't flirt with. You can see a fire fairy coming a mile away. Great to see how the color came back in your face after the first 10 to 12 minutes. Oh, good. Was I looking a little pallid? Am I just getting hot? I'm like in the stream of sun here. Cool. I think I'm out of questions, although there's 46 people here. Thank you all for joining. How just joyous this is. Um, Hopefully I answered everybody's questions. I suppose we're at an hour. Maybe I can do one or two more. Did you say that fire, water avatars are humans? Yeah, those are humans. Um, Humans are they're kind of conflictual. They're kind of like they're the end of a cycle. They are I describe humans as if you have a normal curve, that they're smack in the middle. They are reflective of the dominant culture. They're always going to reflect that back. And they are really identified with their role in the dominant culture. Um, so they are best friend if they're aligned with you, but they can also they can also be in the way if you're kind of a standard deviation or two outside the norm, uh, you know, like I am. So, but I have beautiful humans in my family who are, I mean, the most tried and true, like loyal, like stand right next to you, whatever you need people. They are um, just, like they're the loyalists of the six avatars or six. What do I want to call six species? Six species, really. Um, and so that was such an unexpected joy. Oh, good. They're really fun to talk about, and it's super helpful to know which avatar you are, which species you are. So, yeah, it's fairies, elves, hobbits, gnomes, dwarves, and humans. And once you know, it can be really validating. I have to say that I'm I'm noticing, however, that like just being a hobbit and coming more and more into my own essence, that I'm certainly still hobbity, but it's like the more self-actualized you become, the more you're more refined, and some of the kind of brute hobbitness, like I said in my recent newsletter, that like naivete is a hobbit trait, and it is because we're very earnest. We're the other thing about the avatars is that they align with your chakras. So hobbits are heart. We're the color green, and we're the heart chakra. We're very, just heart-centered beings, but we can be kind of naive. But as I've just lived more, there's less naivete, right? And I can pass almost for other avatars. There's more fluidity. Sort of think of like gender is gender gets to be more fluid the more more, I don't know. It's not necessarily evolution. It's just more, yeah, more self-actualized. Um, so yeah, so meaning there's a wide range of expression because you're so embodied, so present, that all the aspects of your being, right? We all have masculine and feminine. We all have these aspects in us. We all the elements in us. So my default is still very hobbity, but um, both on two ends of the spectrum, people who are really blocked from their own presence are hard to know what species we are, and then those who are really self-actualized, it can be a little hard because they're so fluid. Um, so we'll talk more about it for sure. Yeah, let's see. So resonate with the avatar is one of my favorite things to talk about. Becky, yeah, Becky is. I'm going to just spill the beans. This is my beautiful cousin who is a gnome, and she has in her family all of the avatars. So we study them. It's like here's how to parent. A fairy different than a hobbit, and oh my god, she has a elf kid, a fairy kid, and a hobbit kid, and they are all very different different boys. I'm a hobbit that lives in the ghetto, so it's not easy. Truly, I lived in Chicago for 24 years. To not have green space for a hobbit is it's awful. It's awful. Um, I don't know. I wish you green spaces and endless walking trails as soon as possible. We all love nature. I mean, there's nobody who doesn't. But like dwarves and humans can do okay. But when you get a little higher up the body, us hobbit types, oh my goodness, we like need to go hug a tree. Really, really fun live stream. Thank you so much for this precious gift, the gift of your time. Thank you so much, Gary. So great. I'll be here next week. So fun to have you guys. I loved it. How does find which species they are, and is our species aligned with our astrological sign? I'm a true Aquarian. They don't seem to be aligned with our astrological sign. I'm not finding that, although it's possible that they do, and I just haven't um, I just haven't gone there. I haven't like done enough mapping and stuff. Um, I'm a Aquarius rising, definitely identify that Virgo sun. Thanks, David. I'm going to sign off here in a couple minutes, but what I'm working on is I've been working on different things, but and the species have been sort of lower on my just with everything happening in the world. I'm focused on this Commonwealth thing and really healing as many people as I can. Um, so these are really fun to talk about, but they're a little secondary right now. But what I want to do is create basically a psychological test, right? It's like choose a color, choose your favorite meal, these kinds of things, um, and just do a quick and dirty kind of assessment, and and then have like a ton of examples for you all. So some celebrity examples, and then just examples of people in my life. A typical Hobbit outfit, a typical you know, habitat, those kinds of things. So color schemes. So I'm working on it, and we'll get there, and we can keep talking about it on these live streams too. All right. So excited for my lives too. This was an awesome Ditto Gary's message. Okay, cool. You guys, it was so fun. Thank you again. And I will be here next Tuesday, and these will be posted. I don't know how it works, but supposedly they're recorded and will just get posted on my page. So you can revisit them. There'll be lots of stuff moving forward. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And we'll see you next time. Mwah! Bye.